Today, we're diving into 10 game remakes that are better than the originals, showcasing how these revamped classics have taken everything we loved and made it even better. Resident Evil 2 is the gold standard of remakes, redefining what we expect from a survival horror reboot. Originally released on the PlayStation in 1998, the original game is a beloved survival horror classic. But the 2019 remake doesn't just lean on nostalgia, it reinvents the entire experience, blending modern gaming mechanics with the same heart-pounding horror that made the original so iconic. Capcom overhauled the fixed camera angles of the original with an over-the-shoulder perspective that brings the terror much closer. The visual upgrade is breathtaking. Raccoon City has never felt more alive and more terrifying. Every alley, every corridor, and every abandoned shop feels like a living nightmare. But it's not just about the graphics. The sound design amplifies the tension as you hear the distant moans of zombies or the ominous footsteps of Mr. X, who now relentlessly stalks you through the police station. The inventory system, the resource management, and the tight gameplay make every decision a matter of life or death. The remake of Resident Evil 2 isn't just a love letter to fans of the original, it's a new gold standard for survival horror games. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening is another brilliant example of how a remake can breathe new life into a classic. Originally released on the Game Boy in 1993, Link's Awakening was a quirky, dreamlike entry in the Zelda series. The 2019 remake for the Nintendo Switch retains all of the charm and whimsy of the original, while completely overhauling the visuals with a toy-like diorama art style that is both nostalgic and refreshing. The lush, vibrant world of Koholint Island now feels more inviting than ever, but don't let its cutesy visuals fool you. This game still packs the same challenging puzzles and clever dungeon design that fans loved. The updated controls make movement smoother, and the inventory system is more intuitive, which eliminates the cumbersome menu navigation of the original. It also includes some quality of life improvements, like the ability to map items to multiple buttons, allowing for more fluid gameplay. Link's Awakening demonstrates how a remake can stay true to its roots, while making the experience even more enjoyable for both veteran players and newcomers. When Dead Space first launched in 2008, it redefined the survival horror genre, blending sci-fi with terrifying gameplay. The 2023 remake of Dead Space pushes that even further. The game plunges players into the terrifying and claustrophobic world of the USG Ishimura, a derelict spaceship where something has gone terribly wrong. The original game was already a masterclass in atmosphere, but the remake turns every corner, every hallway, and every sound into a relentless assault on your nerves. The improved lighting, textures, and sound design enhance the sense of dread that permeates the entire game. You never feel safe as you navigate through the ship's dark, blood-stained corridors. The dismemberment mechanic, a hallmark of the original, is even more visceral here, making combat strategic and horrifying as you tear necromorphs apart limb by limb. The zero-gravity sequences, which were impressive back in 2008, are even more immersive now, making every moment in space a white-knuckle experience. This remake isn't just a visual upgrade, it enhances every facet of the original to create a survival horror game that feels fresh, terrifying, and unforgettable. Shadow of the Colossus is a timeless masterpiece, and its 2018 remake for the PS4 is a testament to how a classic game can be rebuilt to be even more breathtaking while keeping the soul of the original intact. The game follows Wander as he ventures into a forbidden land to defeat 16 Colossi in hopes of reviving a mysterious girl. The minimalist storytelling and haunting atmosphere remain, but the graphical overhaul brings the game's landscapes and creatures to life like never before. The vast, lonely environments are more beautiful and more desolate, and the colossal enemies are even more imposing. Every battle against a Colossus feels like a monumental struggle, not just because of the sheer size of these creatures, but because of the emotional weight of each encounter. The new control scheme also makes the gameplay smoother, allowing players to focus more on the exploration and the puzzle-like nature of each battle. Shadow of the Colossus has always been a game about feeling small in the face of insurmountable odds, and the remake amplifies this sense of awe and melancholy, making it an unforgettable experience. Final Fantasy VII Remake is not just an updated version of a classic, it's a complete reimagining of one of the most beloved RPGs of all time. When the original Final Fantasy VII was released in 1997, it was groundbreaking in its scale, its story, and its characters. The 2020 remake takes that foundation and builds on it in ways that expand and enhance the experience. Midgar, the dystopian city where the first part of the game takes place, feels like a living, breathing world. Every street, every slum, every detail of the city is brimming with life and personality. The characters, Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and Barret, are more fleshed out than ever, with new backstories and interactions that add depth to their relationships. The turn-based combat system of the original has been replaced with a more action-oriented system, but it still retains the strategic elements that made the original so engaging. Final Fantasy VII Remake is more than just a nostalgic trip. It's a new way to experience a classic story. With enough surprises and changes to keep even the most die-hard fans on their toes. Demon's Souls was the game that birthed the Soulsborne genre, known for its brutal difficulty and punishing gameplay. The 2020 remake for the PS5 takes everything that made the original game so memorable and elevates it with stunning next-gen visuals and improved performance. The world of Boletaria has never looked more menacing, with towering Gothic architecture and eerie fog-covered landscapes that make you feel small and insignificant. The combat, while still punishingly difficult, feels smoother and more responsive in the remake thanks to the improved frame rate and refined controls. The haunting atmosphere of Demon's Souls is what made the original so unforgettable, and this remake keeps that intact while making the game more accessible for new players. The improved mechanics and stunning visuals make it the definitive way to experience this iconic game while still retaining the soul-crushing difficulty that fans of the series crave. Spyro Reignited Trilogy is a nostalgic joyride for anyone who grew up with the original Spyro games on the PlayStation. The trilogy, Spyro the Dragon, Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, and Spyro Year of the Dragon has been beautifully remade with updated visuals that bring the colorful worlds and characters to life like never before. The gameplay remains as fun and accessible as ever, with each level offering new challenges, collectibles, and enemies. The Reignited trilogy doesn't mess with the formula too much. It retains the charm and simplicity of the original games while giving everything a fresh coat of paint. The improved controls make the platforming smoother and more enjoyable, and the vibrant environments are filled with new details that make exploring them a delight. Whether you're gliding through the skies or charging through enemies, Spyro Reignited Trilogy is a perfect example of how to update a classic without losing what made it great in the first place. Crash Bandicoot N Sane Trilogy is another remake that perfectly balances nostalgia with modern enhancements. The original Crash Bandicoot games were known for their tough-as-nails platforming, and the N Sane Trilogy brings that same level of difficulty with a modern polish. The graphics are colorful and detailed, giving each level a new vibrancy that wasn't possible on the original hardware. The platforming is just as challenging as ever, but the updated controls make the game feel more responsive, which helps alleviate some of the frustration of the more difficult levels. What makes this remake stand out is how it manages to capture the essence of the original games, the quirky characters, the precise platforming, and the rewarding sense of accomplishment, while making it accessible to a new generation of players. Crash Bandicoot N Sane Trilogy is a brilliant example of how to modernize a classic series while staying true to what made it beloved in the first place. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, a remake of the original Metal Gear Solid for the GameCube, is a hidden gem in the world of remakes. The original game was a revolutionary stealth action title when it was released on the PlayStation, but the Twin Snakes updates the game with new mechanics and improved graphics, making it feel more modern while still retaining the depth of the original. The inclusion of first-person aiming and smoother controls, borrowed from Metal Gear Solid 2, makes the gameplay more fluid and engaging. The cinematic cutscenes, which were already a highlight of the original game, have been reworked to include more dynamic action sequences, adding an extra layer of intensity to the narrative. The Twin Snakes successfully blends the best elements of the original Metal Gear Solid with the advancements of later games in the series, creating a version of the game that feels both nostalgic and fresh. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time 3D is a remake that brings one of the most iconic games of all time to a new generation of players. The original Ocarina of Time is often regarded as one of the greatest games ever made, and the 3DS remake stays true to that legacy while adding some much-needed updates. The visuals have been completely overhauled, making the world of Hyrule look more vibrant and alive. Familiar locations like Kokiri Forest, Hyrule Castle, and the Water Temple are more detailed and immersive, drawing players back into this beloved world. The controls have been improved, especially with the 3DS's touchscreen, which makes inventory management and aiming more intuitive. The 3D effect also adds depth to the game's environments, making exploration feel even more immersive. Ocarina of Time 3D doesn't just update a classic, it enhances it in ways that make it more enjoyable for both longtime fans and newcomers, solidifying its place as one of the greatest remakes of all time.